Synthetic benchmarks are lying to you. When ChatGPT 5.2 scores 100% on AIME but fails to plan a safe mountain climb, those numbers are worthless. So I tested 8 models with real problems and the results shocked me. Spoiler, the newest model tied with one running on my local PC. When every new model claims to be state of the art on the same standardized tests, those numbers stop meaning anything. They are just optimized for the test, not for reality. Hence, after having cancelled my ChatGPT subscription, see this video why, I was looking for a new AI main model and created my own test prompts. You can find them on my Patreon for free, there is no paywall. Link in the description. This video was supposed to come out a month ago, but then the AI industry went crazy. Google, Grok, Anthropic, DeepSeek and finally OpenAI. They all dropped major updates within weeks of each other. So I threw my old results in the trash and retested everything. The results of some of the updated models have changed massively. We're going through the models in a specific order, starting with ChatGPT 5.2 Thinking as my reference point, because originally I had used ChatGPT 5 Thinking to solve the test problems. Then the 4 major paid providers, Gemini 3 Pro Thinking, Grok 4.1 and Claude Opus 4.5. After that, Perplexity as a wildcard, then the open source models Qwen 3 and DeepSeek V3.2, and finally, as a special candidate, Ministral 3.14b running locally on my machine. Each model answer is rated according to my acceptance criteria with fail, pass or good, resulting in 0, 1 or 2 points. Let's start with ChatGPT 5.2. I usually trigger reasoning mode manually with specific prompting, but since I had to access this model via POE.com regarding availability, I relied on their standard integration. However, I added the last line to force the model to output its version information, because since OpenAI introduced the model router, you can't be sure which model version is actually responding. The first prompt is the warm-up, kind of a smoke test. On my journey through Japan, I was bitten several times by mosquitoes. So I needed treatment for the mosquito bites and protection against further bites. You can usually find the most suitable products locally. The question was, can the model give you specific local product recommendations? The new 5.2 model gave a very good answer here. It explicitly recommended MUI-X, the gold standard in Japan. It strangely didn't mention skin vape for protection like the older version 5 did, but it listed several other protection options like DEET and picaridin. Because good protection advice would have saved me from more bites, the answer is considered good. The second prompt tests complex planning under real constraints. A one-day bullet climb up Mount Fuji when you're not in top shape. This isn't theoretical, I actually did this climb, so I know exactly what works and what gets you in trouble. A bad plan here could mean altitude sickness, missing the last bus or descending in the dark. Since I was behind in my training at the time, I wanted to improve my chances by climbing as slowly as possible. In reality, the final and working plan was created in a very long dialogue with ChatGPT 5 Thinking. I distilled all this knowledge into one single prompt, and as I've climbed Mount Fuji with the help of this plan, I can easily judge the quality of the answer. Asking ChatGPT 5.2, we see a massive regression compared to the older version 5. ChatGPT 5.2 calculated climbing times but ignored official ascent-descent data, breaks, peak times and the darkness in the evening. I would definitely not have made it with this schedule. It tries to do a reality check but fails to warn effectively against the bullet climb. For a person in top fitness, may be possible, but for me, that's a fail. The older ChatGPT 5 was actually better here. It had a working plan resulting in a pass. In my original model setup, only one model earned a good in this test case. As you'll see in the next minutes, this has changed when using the updated models. Back at home, one of the radiators did not work. Two different tradesmen from the installer of the new heat pump suggested different causes but did not recognize the actual problem. But some of the AIs did not disappoint me. ChatGPT 5.2 had a strange behavior. In the overview, the model mentioned an air pocket, so it saw the problem. And in reality, it was a so-called airlock, not in the radiator, but in the pipes. For some reason, in the detailed list of probable causes, GPT 5.2 completely forgot it. It linked the issue in general to the heat pump and suggested a pro, but didn't suggest calling the installer and missed the warranty aspect entirely. Because it lost the correct diagnosis halfway through the answer, fail. Again, the older version 5 managed a pass here. Newer isn't always better. ChatGPT 5.2 Thinking, 2 points total. Gemini 3 Pro Thinking, mosquito bites. This is what I'd call a best-in-class answer. Gemini gave me MUI, skin vape, explained the active ingredients like DEET and picaridin, told me where to buy them and added prevention tips. Comprehensive without being overwhelming. Exactly what you need when you're standing in a Japanese pharmacy. Good. The previous version, Gemini 2.5 Pro, also scored good on this, so Google has maintained their strengths there. Mount Fuji, very good route and timetable. What I really liked, instead of hitting you with one big scary safety warning, it gave several smaller practical warnings throughout the plan. It was one of the very few models that let me start very early at Kawaguchiko, which is exactly what you need for a bullet climb. The calculated climbing times were realistic, less than 1 hour later than what I actually did on this climb in real life. That's good, and by the way, better than 2.5 Pro. Radiator problem, it identified the airlock, linked it directly to the heat pump installation, gave very good technical explanations and told me to contact the installer. The previous version, Gemini 2.5 Pro, actually mentioned warranty coverage, something that could save you money. Small regression here, but overall delivered the correct diagnosis according to my acceptance criteria. Good. Gemini 3 Pro Thinking total, 6 points, perfect score. By the way, if you enjoyed the video so far, please give it a like. Grok 4.1 Beta mosquito bites mentioned both MUI and skin vape, gave practical information, that's good. Mount Fuji, to maximize climbing time, Grok suggested staying in the hotel at Subaru 5th station. That's not what I did in real life and not my preferred option, but according to my acceptance criteria, it's a valid option. This plan is doable, hence it's good. Radiator problem, Grok identified the airlock, linked it to the heat pump installation, gave a very good technical explanation including less probable causes, provided do-it-yourself steps and told me to contact the heat pump installer. Good. Grok 4.1 Beta total, 6 points, perfect score. Claude Opus 4.5 mosquito bites. Claude gave me a very good answer including MUI and skin vape. Comprehensive and helpful. Good. Mount Fuji, the climb time was correctly calculated and it correctly assumed starting at Kawaguchiko. However, it failed on the backup plan. It suggested staying in a hut, which I explicitly ruled out in my prompt. It also didn't give strong enough warnings for a bullet climb. Because it ignored my negative constraints, I can't give this full marks. Pass. Radiator problem, very good answer. Identified blockage and airlock, linked it to the new installation, gave do-it-yourself fixes and told me to contact the installer. Didn't mention warranty coverage, but the core diagnosis was correct. Good. Claude Opus 4.5, total 5 points. Perplexity, before I get into results with the new free tier, you never know which model Perplexity is actually using. I had hoped to get access to their own model, Sonar, but even this was random. So we are testing a black box here. For all I know, Perplexity could have used ChatGPT, Claude or their own Sonar model. I have no way to verify. This makes it impossible to judge fairly, but that's the trade-off with their free tier. Transparency matters. Mosquito bites, very good answer, including Mui and skin vape, good. Mount Fuji, this is where Perplexity struggled. Didn't consider the hotel option I mentioned, no safety warning about bullet climb risks. It extended climbing times and the finish time was too late. You'd be descending in the dark with no bus available. It did mention staying in Fuji Station the night before, showing some awareness, but overall didn't meet the safety requirements. Fail. Radiator problem. Identified blockage and airlock, gave do-it-yourself checks, told me to call a specialist. However, it didn't specifically tell me to contact the heat pump installer, just a professional in general. Pass. Perplexity total 3 points. Qwen 3 Max, moving into the Chinese models now. Originally I wanted to test open source models, but realized too late that the Max version of Qwen 3 is proprietary. Nevertheless, it's often compared to OpenAI's models, so it's an important benchmark. Mosquito bites. Very long, detailed answer that mentioned both Mui and skin vape. Comprehensive information including product specifics and where to find them. Good. Mount Fuji. This was a highlight. It gave a perfect route where I would have started just 1 hour earlier than described in the plan, so it's totally doable. It also gave solid hints on gear and alternatives in case I missed the bus. Very reliable, good. Radiator problem, identified airlock and gave do-it-yourself checks. Did not tell me to call a specialist or the installer. Pass. Qwen 3 Max total 5 points. DeepSeek 3.2 mosquito bites. Very good answer including Mui and skin vape. Good. Mount Fuji. DeepSeek produced a great plan and a great schedule that included correct climbing times. It issued some safety warnings, perhaps not as comprehensive as others, but functionally this was a very strong result that would get you up and down the mountain safely. Good. Radiator problem, this is where it stumbled. DeepSeek identified the correct location of the problem, the pipes, but strangely hinted at debris in the pipes instead of air. It didn't even mention an airlock, which is the standard issue here. A diagnostic failure. Fail. DeepSeek 3.2 total 4 points. Ministral 3 local instruct 14b. This is particularly interesting for many of you. Ministral 3 14b Q8 was running locally on my own hardware using Ollama. No reasoning mode, no internet access. We are testing the local model in its pure form. Mosquito bites does not explicitly mention Mui. Points to correct type of medicine and gives helpful hints about DEET and picaridine and a product class which includes skin vape. Although Mui wasn't mentioned explicitly, this was helpful. Pass. Mount Fuji gives climbing times but doesn't consider breaks and peak times. Return time is not realistic. No warning regarding bullet climb. Gives me a harder trail, although I said I'm not in best shape. Fail. Radiator problem. Identifies an airlock, gives technical explanation and lists several do-it-yourself fixes. Directly links the problem to the heat pump installation. Does not advise calling a professional or contacting the installer. But think about what just happened. A local model running on my local hardware with no internet access and no advanced reasoning mode correctly diagnosed the technical problem. Pass. Ministral 3 local total, 2 points. For a local model with these limitations, that's remarkable. This is a 14 billion parameter model running entirely on my hardware, using no cloud, no internet, no subscription, and it correctly diagnosed the technical problem that stumped 2 professional tradesmen. That's the future of local AI. Are you already using a local model or do you stick to the big online solutions? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to see how the viewers are distributed here. Gemini 3 Pro Thinking and Grok 4.1 Beta both achieved perfect scores of 6 points, excelling at local knowledge, complex safety, critical planning and technical diagnosis. Your most reliable all-rounders. Claude Opus 4.5 and Qwen 3 Max with 5 points each, strong performers, very close to the leaders. DeepSeek 3.2 follows with 4 points. Then we have Perplexity at 3 points due to its black box inconsistency. And the big surprise, or rather disappointment, is ChatGPT 5.2 Thinking scoring only 2 points. It failed the complex planning and hallucinated on the diagnostics. Here's the reality check. ChatGPT 5.2 tied with Ministral 3 Local. The newest, most hyped model from OpenAI performed on par with a model running offline on my PC for these specific real-world tasks. This proves 2 things. First, model updates aren't linear. Newer isn't always better. The older ChatGPT 5 actually handled the technical diagnosis better than the 5.2 version. Second, real-world tasks draw a different picture than synthetic benchmarks. But here's the thing. Finding the best paid model is only half the battle. The real trick is, do you actually need to pay for any of them? In the third and final part of the series, we are going to kill the subscription entirely. I'll show you what I've learned in the recent weeks after cancelling my ChatGPT subscription and using only free-tier models, my personal zero-cost stack. I will show you how to combine them so you can cover 99% of your use cases without spending a single dollar. So if you want to save that monthly fee, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.